So are you have the jersey? I'm wearing the jersey. So are you a Bryce guy for now, or are you a Bryce guy no matter what?
I was actually a Stroud guy going into the draft, but I had the awakening that my happiness is directly linked with Bryce Young's success. So I'm Bryce Young till he's not on the team, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like I remember last year. I think it was week 8. I was like, all right. I think the Panthers like naturally had the first overall pick. Didn't have to trade with Chicago or anybody. And I was like, Bryce Young, he's the guy. And then yeah, when the BCS or the college football playoff happened and everyone watched that, the CJ Stroud game. I think it was against Georgia. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
it was
snap,
crazy.
this
Yeah,
guy could be something. Yeah, and I was like, okay, okay. And then he did great in the combine. Bryce didn't do anything in the combine. Then it kind of swished a little bit, and then we were starting to drink the Kool Aid that was being fed to us by the Panthers brass. I was like, okay, he is a lot of people's top quarterback, and so yeah, I think we've had those experiences with Bryce that a normal rookie would have.
yeah,
I think we were. I think you'd agree that we were misled a little bit. Maybe we all were again drinking the Kool Aid that we thought that this team was that quarterback away. And so I'm with you though. Like
yeah.
I feel the anxiety when he plays the same that I remember feeling when Cam played, because Cam was also highly scrutinized coming into the league, and when he was a pro, I
Hmm.
felt like every pass Cam Newton had, I was like, oh god, if this is picked off, I already know the narratives that are going to be written about him on Monday, and I feel the same way about Bryce. And so I'm like, I feel you when you're saying that your happiness is tied to Bryce, because mine is too, unfortunately. And yeah, obviously, let's see what happens with him. And I'm just looking at your page now and how the Panthers could help him. And this is something that a lot of people are talking about, and it's T Higgins. He's everyone. He's the apple of everybody's eye. And on your page, on December 18th last year, you said Cincinnati receives our second round pick, so that 33rd overall pick, and next year's third pick for T Higgins. How'd you come up with that compensation?
Um,
Like, what's your rationale?
I just kind of was like, a big thing I looked at was the Tyreek Hill trade. Everyone was kind of surprised. I
Mm-hmm.
think he went for a first and a second, and T Higgins,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably a tag in trade. I don't think it'll be a sign in trade if since he does do that kind of thing. So, you're only getting a guy for a year, guaranteed at least. But yeah, I don't know. A second and a third sounded kind of fair to me. Mock trades are always so hard. It's so hard to pinpoint
Yeah.
trade value. It fluctuates all the time. So I don't know. Pick 33 is a pretty prestigious draft pick. That third round pick next year is probably going to be pretty high. So I think it's unfair, my
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, because I think to most people, the 33rd pick is going to be spent on a receiver. You may as well do it on someone
who's
who is
getting
at
is
least a
showing
known commodity.
success. Yeah, I got a little bit of
Right.
backlash on that. Everyone was like, "Why don't you just pick a receiver at 33?" And I'm like, "Well, you're running the risk of the 33rd pick not being very good. He could get hurt a lot.
Mhm.
It's not as simple as you draft a guy and he's automatically going to be the next Steve Smith.
Yeah, no, and I think Panther fans should understand. Like we had Jonathan Mingo, who's shown some things,
He has
shown
been a
some flashes,
player.
right? And then Terrace Marshall was also a second round pick. And it was like, yeah, we've been burned. We've been burned with second round wide receivers drafted then. So we'll see. The jury's still out on Mingo. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah. I don't know if you follow him at all. NFL Network.
Yeah.
He talks about how your wide receiver room should kind of be like a basketball team. Like there should be a power forward. There should be a point guard. Everyone should have their own different skill set. Like it feels like all our wide receivers are kind of the same. They're big and they're kind of slow, not that fast, not that agile, and they're all they don't get separation. I think Jonathan Mingo, he could eventually replace Adam Thielen as the tall, big, slow guy. You just need
Hmm.
some burners around him that can maybe give him some space. But uh,
I know.
yeah, I think a Tyreek Hill huh?
I know. DJ Chark was. I think he's a lot slower now. He's gotten a ton of injuries, but he was supposed to be
Yeah,
that like big deep threat that really stretches the defense out, and he just hasn't.
yeah. Yeah, no, I saw. I was in North Carolina when they picked him up. I was like, finally, a burner, because I've seen. I'm pretty sure he scored touchdowns against the Panthers, and I was like, okay, this when he was with the Lions, like, okay, this guy can do some things. I remember him in Jacksonville as well. He's another LSU receiver. I'm like, okay, this can kind of work out. Him and TMJ, and yeah, his speed is just not there, and
You
it
just
seems
don't
like
really
yeah,
see it.
everyone just kind of does it. Yeah, everyone just seems to kind of do the same thing. But yeah, I think T Higgins is someone that a lot of Panther fans want. Are there other free agent wide receivers? I think you had a Hollywood Brown trade or something like that, didn't you?
Yeah, the last offseason post I had a signing Hollywood. I don't know how I
Mm-hmm.
feel about it. Um, he's got a lot of speed. You worry about the health, obviously. I think you're gonna have to overpay to get him. The contract's probably pretty ugly, but
Mm-hmm.
for a team that's desperate, you got to throw up Hail Marys. At best case scenario, he's like a Christian Kirk scenario where it's overpay at the time, but it looks better in hindsight. But I completely agree. I think we need, especially in today's NFL, you need a lot of speed. You need a lot of explosiveness. You look at like Tank Dell completely changed the
Yeah.
Texans' offense. He's a huge part of why they were so successful. Like Tyreek Hill, obviously. You need speed.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have any.
None. Everyone's just slow. And I will point out to all the people, like, I like CJ Stroud as well, but everyone who said that, CJ is just a better quarterback than Bryce, when Tank Dell and Nico Collins were out, I'm pretty sure CJ didn't even pass 100 yards passing that game, and he was out with a concussion, just waiting for plays to happen. So just throwing that out there. So in your last offseason draft sim, you have them hiring Ejiro Evero as the head coach. He looks good in the picture, too. He looks jacked in it, the one that you chose.
He's a bigger
Why do
guy.
you think that he could be? He's jacked. Why do you think that he could be a good fit as a head coach?
I don't know. I don't want us to be obsessed with like finding an OC or like an offensive guy. I like the idea of hiring one, but obviously it didn't work very well with Frank Reich. I look at what Avero has done this year with a pretty poor group that's been really injured, and that's just really impressed me. If he won the locker room, I'm perfectly fine keeping him around. I think he's a special talent as a coach, and I'd love to see him be the head coach next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, like if it'd be interesting, would you then keep Thomas Brown as the OC? Because I don't know if you saw this list of coordinators that players love, and he was number two. And so I wonder if he was given an offseason to implement his actual offense, would he stick around number one? His wife has said some things on Twitter
Yeah, I
allegedly,
saw the Twitter
saying that they're
stuff. It's
already
pretty
fired.
ugly.
Yeah. That they're just like playing out the season. Would you keep Thomas Brown or would you want a Giro to find his own guy?
Um, I don't really have a stance either way. I know, like I've been disappointed this year, obviously, but he's a first time play caller. There's gonna be growing pains. If we keep him, I'm not gonna hate it, but I also wouldn't be that upset if we let him go.
Yeah. Now, also with this, is it also a foregone conclusion you are not a Scott Fitterer guy? You want Scott out?
I I love the entertainment value of having Scott Fitterer because you're always involved in trades, and I love
Right.
trades. So, but good God, there's a lot of bad trades in his tenure. So I'm fine with he's gone. He should be gone.
So in your latest offseason fix, you have them re-signing Frankie Lou to a 4-year deal, tagging Brian Burns, Troy Hill, who I do think deserves a contract. I think he played really well,
Hmm.
coming in to help out. But with the tagging of Brian Burns, do you think that is also maybe a tag and trade for more draft capital?
I don't think so. I think people
Yeah.
are too obsessed with the recent struggles he's had, but
Mm-hmm.
he's like a 3 or 4 year team captain. Shown a lot so far. I think, and for a team that doesn't have a lot of talent to pay, I'm fine with tagging him this offseason and extending him next year. I think he'll bounce back next year. I'm not worried about him at all.
Yeah, and depending on who the GM is, like either they draft someone on the other end. Justin Houston obviously didn't work out, but yeah, if they
Yeah, I
find
don't think
somebody on the
DJ
offensive
Johnson's
side,
gonna work out very well either.
that's brutal. Like that's he's 25. He's
I
freaking
is that
25
is
already.
25-year-old project edge rusher. You traded
Good
a
stuff
third and a
that you
fourth to
traded
move
up
up for.
for.
Yeah, the
That and the Matt Corral trade, like,
terrible.
were the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. And then when you look at it, the Dan Arnold trade, like, I forgot who his
It
picks
was
turned into.
the third round pick we gave up turned into Chad Muma, who's like a pretty solid rotational linebacker for Jacksonville.
Yeah,
And we got
yeah,
CJ
Jacksonville, who
Henderson,
again shut us down.
who is
He's
a
gone.
player.
Who's the guy? Yeah, so in that post, yeah, you cut Terrace Marshall, obviously, unfortunately. Dante Jackson, salary cap. Ian Thomas, he's gone. Chandler Wooden, I've never even noticed that he was on the team. So those all make sense. Another thing, it also shows, again, to Scott Fitter, all the guys that have left the team aren't with anybody else. Like they don't play for any other teams, so it shows the quality. Um, and stage two, free agency. This is why I love your page. It's great. It just has it does the work for me. So they signed Marquise Brown. We talked about before. 2 years, 35 mil. He could be that burner. Emmanuel Mosley. Is he at Seattle right now? Where
He's
is
in
he?
Detroit. He had a ACL injury early in the season, but he's a guy I liked a lot in San Francisco. So I think he's
Perfect.
God pick up for the price.
Yeah, and then yeah, Derek Barnett, an edge rusher. He did good things when he was with Philly initially, and then Trey
Yeah,
Turner coming back.
get him. Yeah, we've had a ton of injuries at guard this year. I just think adding another depth piece in O line would be great. If he wants to come back too, that'd be awesome.
That's true. Like I will say, like people talk about how Charlotte's like. Have you been to Charlotte itself?
I have not actually.
Okay, you should. It's awesome. Like I don't know if you like craft beers, but they have so many breweries. You know, it's people say it's a small market, but it's actually a lot of fun. Like it's great for families. Personally, I know you're way too young to think about that right now, but it's a good spot. It's a good spot to go out. It's a sneaky good place.
I do hear it's a pretty
Um,
great sports city, despite the
yeah,
failures of the
they
Hornets
got
and
everything.
Panthers.
I know Hornets, Panthers. They got
The Hurricanes are pretty
Charlotte
good.
FC.
I don't know if they play in Charlotte, but
Yeah, which ones?
the Hurricanes.
Oh yeah, they play in Raleigh, which they're also a lot of fun, and like it's not that far away. And they have minor league baseball, and it's like it's all within walking distance of each other, so it's pretty sweet. I like the Marquise Brown, especially when okay, you have another trade. Okay, so Caleb Farley, you're sending them a seventh round pick. Obviously, it's a low risk to get Caleb Farley, who was drafted. Where was he at? Virginia Tech, or where
Yeah,
was he? LSU.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah. Well, didn't his house burn down or something? Something happened right when he was
I think
drafted. I
you're
forget
right.
what it was.
I think it was
Yeah.
recently. I think it was like this past off season. He had a house fire.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
such bad luck. I feel so bad for that guy.
I know. So do you think it's a change of scenery type pickup? Is that what you're
I think
thinking?
it could help. You see those kind of trades a lot where you just dump first round
Mhm.
picks in the last year of the contract if they're disappointing. I think he was picked in the late teens or 20s, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So I don't know. He's had a lot of health problems and he hasn't been very good recently. For a seventh round pick, I'm willing to take a shot on him. This was a dude who was really, really good in the draft process. He had a back injury that knocked him down quite a bit. I don't know. I like the
Mhm.
idea of adding him. I don't know if his seventh round pick's enough. I don't know.
So now to your draft. You have them drafting at LSU, Brian Thomas Jr. A little PTSD of LSU guys in the second round. But
He's
but what do
a
you like about Brian Thomas? I'm just starting to get into the wide receiver scouting.
okay. He's a he's not fast, but he's got really, really long strides, so he covers space pretty quickly. He's a great rack threat. His ball skills are pretty good. He's a bigger guy, so you're looking at that size speed kind of blend. He's risen up the boards a lot, which is something you really like to see. LSU guy, you don't they say don't scout the helmet, but LSU receivers have a pretty good reputation in the next level outside of our experience in Terrace Marshall. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I think he's actually pretty similar to Terrace Marshall coming out of LSU, but they're different players. You got to separate the comparison from the player itself. He's not Terrace Marshall. He's his own guy. So I don't know. I like him a
Yeah. No,
lot.
for sure.
I think he'll go
Mhm.
late first round. In the simulation I did, he fell to 33, and I jumped at the opportunity to grab him.
Yeah. No, every time I do a mock simulation, it's always Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy. Sometimes I get is this Xavier? Yeah. Sometimes I get Leggett out of
South Carolina, yeah.
University of South Carolina. He's a beast. Like I think he's
He's
going to blow
a
up the
yeah. He's
combine.
a he's a dominant guy. You just throw the ball up, and he'll probably come down with it.
What do you like about this guy? This edge rusher.
I haven't.
So according to the front, we've already picked up. Where do we pick up? We just picked Derek Barnett. So now you're getting a rookie behind him as well. Like, what's your idea on this guy?
I think he was another dude who was just like I didn't expect him to be there, but he was, and I was more than happy to pick him. I think he's been hidden behind or overshadowed by Dallas Turner, the other Alabama edge rusher. I think he's a solid pass rusher. I haven't watched him specifically yet, but I've looked at some of his stuff. I'm impressed so far. I think he'd be great across Brian Burns, and for a third round pick, it's just BPA. You got to take the best player available, and if it happens to suit your needs, that's awesome, and he does.
Mhm. Right. No, I feel that. So my only thing is, I'm not questioning you because you've definitely done the work. So we picked up Hollywood Brown. Would there be a case where you get best player available at round two with that 33rd overall? Like if it's an offensive tackle, like would you have done that as well
Yeah, there.
potentially?
If I went into it thinking, okay, I can take a tackle here. I'll move Icky to guard. Everyone's gonna be happy. I'm not gonna have to deal with the comments saying, "Oh my God, you didn't do anything with the O line."
Mm,
But there's just none that fell. I think the best one was Jordan Morgan from Arizona.
mm,
I just, I'd rather
mm.
have Brian Thomas Jr. than most of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, just get weapons. Just get speed and give Bryce like 2 seconds. Give these guys some separation. Guys who can get some separation so he can toss to him quick.
Exactly.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, offensive line could just hold it for like friggin' 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Round four, you got speaking of the offensive line, a center, Jackson Powers Johnson. I have no idea who this guy is.
Uh,
What's he all about?
he's a pretty good center prospect. I think he'll probably end up going late round two. He fell to round four. I was perfectly happy with replacing Bradley Bozeman in the fourth round. I didn't cut Bozeman in this one, so I figured if JPJ's bad, you just throw Bozeman back in there. No one's the wiser. But it's just another BPA, and there's position of need. I took it. He should replace him as a starter, and I think he'd be good in the NFL.
Yeah. Bradley Bowes, like I think it's just the offensive line as a unit. Just Icky and Bradley just completely fallen. I don't know what has happened, and it sucks because Bradley is such a him and his wife are so good with the community, and they're so good on social media. It just sucks. You have Blake Fisher again back on the O line, but then you have Dallin Hawker, or is it Hooker? I don't know what a tight
Yeah,
end though.
Dallin Hoker. He's a tight end from
Hoker,
Colorado State. I actually have one of my friends
okay,
goes to Colorado State. He was putting me on the Dallin Hoker hype train. He's pretty good.
okay.
He's a smaller school guy. He's
Mm.
a great athlete. He's a pretty good tight end prospect. And, I don't know what we're going to do there next season. I'm okay with running it back with Tommy Tremble. He's shown me enough at this
Yeah.
point. But adding more tight ends, you see a lot of teams switching to two tight ends. That's a lot. So,
Yeah, I think tight ends take a while, right? Like
hmm
they take a while to get better. Like, oh my gosh, Cleveland's
Njoku.
Njoku. Like, yeah, like he was an athletic freak out of Miami, and then he got there. And he had flashes, but really this year he's really hit his stride. He's a serious offensive weapon, and it's taken a while. And I think Tommy Tremble, yeah, he's not as fluid of an athlete as Njoku. He's a bit stiff, but yeah, he gets open and he makes plays and he runs hard, and I like him. I wouldn't mind him sticking around. And he wasn't asked to catch much in Notre Dame, so now he's just kind of getting used to it in the program. And yeah, I'm totally down with getting like a small town guy, kind of like who's someone who's is it the Saints or someone who did just beat us, or is it no? At Green Bay they got Tucker. He came out of like
Tucker
Jackson or
Craft.
something.
Yeah.
Tucker Craft. Yeah. Like I don't mind like a small school guy who's kind of an athlete, take a flyer on him, especially in the later rounds. And then you also have a cornerback as well, Fentrell Cypress. So yeah, I just think the whole team needs a build. It's a multi-year build. So with that, and this is just one of your many posts that you have, depending on, you have a Joe Evero as the head coach. Who knows who the GM is? Like, would you be happy with what, like 5 wins next year?
I'm just, I don't even know. Like, just not this. I hate the feeling every week of just like the hopelessness, and I think part of it is just the fact that we don't have our first round pick this year. I think that also plays
Yeah.
into it. The 2 wins sucks. Seeing Bryce Young struggle as much as he has sucks. He's getting knocked around. He's getting hit every time he drops back. It's just there's nothing to look forward to this year. I don't even think it's the win total. It's just how little there is to be happy about right now.
Yeah, like the Green Bay game was probably peak happy. They lost it, but I felt good watching it. I was like, okay, that was like a good loss. I don't know
Yeah,
what else
the
to call it. And then
the
yeah, the Seattle
short
one was good
era.
too, but Andy Dalton. Yeah, I know, brutal. What's it called? Ben, I appreciate you. I think this
Yep.
was awesome. Maybe we'll hit each other up maybe before the draft, after the draft, see what happens, see who the GM is. But yeah, I think it's great. I want to make sure everybody follows your Instagram page, Depressed Panther _fan, and your other page. I also have followed it, but I'm trying to.
Sweet.
What's it now?
I can take a look. I don't remember the handle off rip. It's
It's new.
yeah, cover1 _ football.
All right, and that also has a YouTube page that you'll eventually get to. When you get to it, I'll make sure to sub. I'll hit the notification, all that stuff. You're 19. You're good. This is how you get your start. You
Hell
just
yeah.
gotta get the reps. That's what it's all about.
Yup.
Deep. All right. Okay, Ben. I appreciate you.